Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today for our Wellness Connection Letting Go of Should. I'm Cindy Edgerly, and along with Molly Schneider, we are the co-founders of Well Together, a therapy and coaching practice dedicated to your wellness. And today we're going to talk about getting rid or freeing ourselves of the burdensome and counterproductive habit of using the word should, the S word. And if you're like most people, you use the word should pretty regularly. And most of us use it without even thinking about it. We use it with ourselves, we use it with others, things like, I should exercise more, I shouldn't have eaten all those cookies or all those chips in my case. Or with others, you should speak up to your boss, or you should have studied harder for that test. And the word should, by its very nature, reflects not reality, but a made up or idealized version of what actually is. And Margaret Atwood, one of my favorite authors, in her novel, The Blind Assassin, says it really well. To quote her, she writes, "Should is a futile word. It's about what didn't happen. It belongs in a parallel universe. It belongs in another dimension in space." I think that's very well said. So, what we know from cognitive behavioral therapy is that what we think and the language that we use, just move myself so you can see, um, leads to how we feel. So, it significantly impacts how we feel. And Aaron Beck, who was a prominent 20th century psychologist, considered the father of CBT, he includes shoulding in his list of cognitive distortions. And cognitive distortions are inaccurate thoughts which lead to negative emotions. So an example might be, I should exercise every day, and if I don't, it means I'm lazy. So you can see how something like that will lead you to feeling bad about yourself. Now, while Beck is considered the father of CBT, Dr. Albert Ellis, another prominent 20th century psychologist, is considered the grandfather of CBT. And he coined the phrase masturbation to refer to a set of absolute and unrealistic demands that many people live by. And referring to the problem of masturbation, he wrote, "There are three musts that hold us back. I must do well, you must treat me well, and the world must be easy." Think about that. Those are things that hold us back. So using the S word prevents us from being fully present in the moment, and it reflects our preoccupation with the past or the future. It's about what might have been or what might one day be rather than what currently is. And the reason shoulding makes us feel so bad is that it invokes feelings of inadequacy and leads us to never feeling quite satisfied. I'm not enough, you're not enough, and the list of shoulds never ends. There's always something more we should be doing or achieving or acquiring. And shoulding leads us to define ourselves by our accomplishments or our failures and sets us up to evaluate ourselves based on what we have done as opposed to who we are. And the same goes for others. So the unfortunate and paradoxical thing about shoulding is that while we intend for it to motivate ourselves or others, it actually has the exact opposite effect. Because shoulding can lead to feelings of worthlessness and guilt, as well as anger and resentment in our relationships, it decreases drive and motivation. Think about it. Are you motivated by something you think you should do or by something that you truly want to do? Study after study shows that motivation actually decreases when when something feels obligatory, and it increases when there's a true desire to do it. So it's not complicated, it makes a lot of sense, but many of us still continue to fall into the shoulding trap. Dr. Susan Heitler, hope I'm saying her name correctly, is an author and clinical psychologist out of Denver. And she notes that simply using I should instead of I want to can measurably change one's emotional state. While using muscle testing, which is a form of muscle kinesiology, she was able to determine that in terms of someone's stress level, using the words I should led to feelings of guilt, stress, lack of motivation, and actually decreased muscle strength. Alternatively, she found that replacing the words I should with I want to was linked to feelings of empowerment and increased motivation. And the same goes for our communication with others. In relationships, shoulding can definitely get us into trouble. It reflects our expectations of others, which may or may not be fair or realistic. Shoulding on others can leave us feeling disappointed or undervalued and leave others feeling judged or defensive. Removing the blame and judgment helps improve the flow of communication and leads to more harmonious relationships because people are much more likely to respond positively when they aren't feeling judged. And watch out for advice giving. Sometimes it's better to ask, what do you want to do about it? Or how can I help? Instead of, you should fill in the blank. So I know you're probably thinking, but there are things that we really should do or that we really need to do. And of course, you're right. But what I'm saying is there aren't actually that many things that we truly need to do. And we're going to get to that. But first, let's talk about breaking the habit of shoulding. So simply knowing that it's counterproductive and harmful is certainly part of it. But like any bad habit, getting rid of it requires changing our behavior, our thinking patterns, and it requires practice. And to be certain, telling ourselves that we shouldn't be using the word should isn't going to help. Using mindfulness strategies like acceptance can really help with this. And a good start is to just notice and be aware of your shoulding, but do it with a non-judgmental attitude. The noticing is the mindfulness, and the lack of judgment is the acceptance. So doing this will not only help you recognize your patterns, but it will actually begin to reverse the negative effects of shoulding on your psyche, because it's an act of compassion and kindness toward yourself. And who doesn't need more of that, especially these days? Mindfulness can help you gain insight into your true desires, ultimately leading to increased motivation and sense of self. For example, if you take your I should statement and really examine it, you can then determine if it's something that you really have to do, something that leads you to having or doing something you really want, kind of like a means to an end, or if it's something that upon further examination maybe isn't that important to you, maybe it's important to others, and maybe it's something that you can get rid of. So asking yourself, what do I want, can be really helpful here. And so what I'm describing is the practice of reframing. And I like to look at it as a way of kind of categorizing your should statements. So if you take, one or two should statements that you use on a regular basis and figure out which category they fall under. Something you absolutely need to do, something you want to do because it leads to something that you really want, or something you can let go of and eliminate altogether. And doing this with our shoulding of others is really helpful too. So think of a situation where you could change the way you're communicating with others and, turning your statements into, instead of you should help me with the dishes or, you should make your bed. I want you to help me with the dishes. I'm tired. I want you to help. I want you to make your bed because I know you'll feel better if you have a clean, organized room. Speaking as a mother of teenagers. So, just to wrap things up, letting go of should enables us to practice acceptance of situations, circumstances, and people, including ourselves, as they are and as we are. Acceptance leads to a more peaceful existence. Reframing leads to more clarity and increased motivation. Letting go of should benefits our well being and improves our relationships. So, just to end with some really wise words from the ancient Greek philosopher Epictetus: seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are, and you will have a tranquil flow of life. I love that. I think it says it all. So, thanks so much for joining us. We love to hear from you and stay connected. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below. Reach out to us via email, our website, wearewelltogether.com. We are here for you, and we would love to hear from you. So, be well, and thanks again for tuning in. Bye.